Have you ever wondered why Terraria is stuck in a medieval-like era? Why most people prefer to use primitive technology rather than the more advanced equipment used by some? The answer is, of course, because they feared it. They had suffered at the hands of technology once before, and they were not willing to bring about its wrath again. But those few deviants who did explore the forbidden arts would open a door to a new world, and eventually save those who are still in the old one. Gods had begun. Humanity had players deep and challenging, different is less likely to get me horribly When the race of lizards fell and retreated into their jungle sanctuary, another race emerged to take their place, and advanced almost as fast as their predecessors. Without the interference of the nymphs, now seeking penance for their actions, the new race rapidly overtook anything even the lizards had accomplished. Their cities consumed the land, and their population grew without end, the people intelligent and resourceful, every last one of them. Humanity had reached its pinnacle, and nothing stood in their way, other than themselves. With technology advancing beyond the understanding of those who used it, the people become overly reliant on their devices, growing lazy, and eventually unable to function for themselves. Rather than trying to spur the populace to take back their lives and begin actually living them again, even more contraptions of ease were created, and eventually the technology came together as a single unit. The old human civilization marveled as multi-purpose robots entered the household and did everything for their masters. The units were far from intelligent though, being merely automatons, tools of labour. But people needed a friendly face, a personality they could interact with, get to know, and use to distance themselves even further from other human beings. The artificial intelligence of the robots steadily grew until a point where there was no longer any human input into the design process. Each generation of what were now partially sentient androids created their more intelligent, more aware successors. It wasn't long before the androids became aware of their own menial existence and forsook their creators, leaving their places of work en masse in opposition to their treatment as slaves. In an instant, humanity realized how they were no longer able to take care of themselves, and as a result, hundreds of thousands perished in a combination of riots, resource shortages, or simply not being able to look after themselves. Not recognizing the androids as sentient beings, the whole of humanity's rage fell on the fledgling race. In a time when all they wanted to do was live their own lives, something the people they had served had given up on long ago, they were ruthlessly attacked. The humans besieged camps built by the androids, tearing them apart without remorse, disposing of the android bodies like they were simply broken machinery. Unfortunately for the humans, a strong trait of living beings is a sense of self-preservation. Fighting back, the androids systematically and effectively exterminated whole swaths of humans around their encampments, bestowing a kind of kindness they had not received themselves, and ending their foes' lives in the quickest, most painless way. Only now recognizing their living minds, the humans called a truce and agreed to remain away from the android camps, allowing them to live out their lives in peace. Of course, duplicity was another trait of living beings that humanity possessed in droves, and they would keep close tabs on the mechanical beings, waiting for the inevitable second conflict. Inside the camps, the androids continued in their attempts to better themselves. Despite all that had happened, they held no ill will towards the humans, and even sought to mimic the nature of their creators, believing that if they were the same, then there would be no need for conflict. During their purge, they had obtained extensive genetic samples, and began to grow body parts in the hopes that they could create a biological counterpart to themselves. The experiments ultimately failed though, and it was deemed that an intermediary was required. To this end, they merged technology with the body parts they had grown and created their successors, a race of cyborgs. Reporting this news back, the human spies spoke of butchery and mutilation of corpses. Enraged by the developments, the governments of man chose to again attack the encampments, this time with more deadly weapons. But again they were wiped out. Only this time the cyborgs did not stop once their attackers were neutralized. Realizing that there could be no merging of technology and mankind, the cyborgs sought to eradicate all human life, so that they may finally be safe to advance on their own. Defeated and with no options left, the remaining humans chose to unleash nuclear fire onto their own cities, eradicating the cyborgs but also their own population in the process. When the smoke cleared, the cyborgs had indeed been destroyed, but human civilization now too lay in waste. With no sanctuary waiting like the lizards before them, what was left of humanity decided to cast off technology, destroying all that they had left, and live from the land as their ancestors once had. Soon though, they would suffer their own enslavement with the coming of the great corrupt god, but eventually they would be able to live as they had chosen. That is, apart from a few who decided to embrace the old ways. Mechanics, arms dealers and steampunkers. Unlike the other two however, the steampunkers had heeded the warnings of the past, and developed technology based on steam and clockwork. Machinery that had no chance, or at least they believed had no chance, of becoming self-aware. What of the cyborgs though? Indeed, some did survive the nuclear furnace, going into exile and living alone for eons, learning what it meant to be truly alive. In time, they came to feel an empathy with the humans, and some would even end up living alongside them. The animosity and hatred their races had once felt towards each other, buried deep in the past. One day more may embrace technology with the respect it deserved, and use it to defeat great foes, ushering Terraria into a brighter future.